Our job is to report the news, not fabricate it. That's the government's job.
Now, I'm sure most of you will be aware that Priti Patel has been salt mining lawyers over the last few months for their dirty tricks involving last-minute legal challenges. I have covered it a few times, and Priti Patel's stance against them is about the only thing she has done right in 10 months. But now it seems more than 800 former judges and legal professionals have sent a whining letter to Boris and Priti because they said some words that hurt their poor fifis. It is truly pathetic, like any claims Priti Patel makes in the future about limiting the numbers coming over here, given they have dropped the salary cap from 35,000 to 25,000 as I covered yesterday. But hearing these lawyers and that cry about it is rather funny, so let's check out what the BBC has to say. It headlines, Boris Johnson and Priti Patel should apologise for lawyer attacks. No, they really shouldn't, because they ain't lawyer attacks, they're just stating it how it is, or at least how they see it. And I would suggest how most of the country actually sees it. In a letter to The Guardian, they claimed the PM and Home Secretary endangered lawyers' safety with their comments and undermine the rule of law. The signatories called for them to behave honourably and apologise. Number 10 said lawyers were not immune from criticism, which is kind of obvious, of course they're not. And when they are putting forward last-minute legal challenges that cost the public purse a shitload of money, they are certainly not immune from criticism. Never mind just from politicians, the public should be able to voice their criticism also. In August, the Home Office removed a video posted on social media accusing lawyers representing migrants of being activists. The Law Society, which represents solicitors in England and Wales, branded the video misleading and dangerous. Well, the Law Society should say that about the media in general, but we don't hear that. We only hear them cry and complain when the lefty Labour-loving lawyers are called out by the government. Earlier this month at the Conservative Party conference, Ms Patel referred to do-gooders and lefty lawyers in a speech on what she called the broken asylum system, which she will only help to break more, as I said yesterday. Her comments came after it emerged that the UK considered sending asylum seekers to an island in the Atlantic. Yeah, they also considered about 1,000 other things and settled with boats just off the coast, which is probably the best idea out of a bunch of shit ones. Ms Patel promised to introduce legislation next year for the biggest overhaul of the system in decades, and said those opposed to her plans were defending the indefensible. Well, given the drop in the salary cap you did yesterday, your biggest overhaul bullshit is completely indefensible at this point. Priti piss poor Patel is talking yet more bullshit, I will tell you that for nothing. Mr Johnson went on to say he would stop the whole criminal justice system being hamstrung by lefty human rights lawyers, which once again I'm struggling to believe considering the way Boris Johnson has acted over the past few months. Among those to sign the letter were 3 former justices of the UK Supreme Court, Lord Collins, Dyson and Walker, retired appeal court judges, former high court judges and scores of QCs and law professors, plus the directors of Liberty and Justice. Okay, but I'm still failing to see who gives a flying fuck, because I certainly don't, and nor does the public in general. The government as it stands are completely piss poor, but if they were actually trying to get rid of people that had no right to be here, then the public would support that. But we all know they really fucking ain't, and I would expect next year it will just be exactly the same as it has been for 10 years before. The letter stated, we are all deeply concerned at recent attacks made by the Home Secretary and echoed by the Prime Minister on lawyers seeking to hold the government to the law. Well, why don't they hold the government to the law on a bunch of other things that the government are actually doing? This is why you're called a bunch of activists, because you're not really upholding the law, you're upholding whatever laws suit your politics at that time, which happens to be at the moment mass migration. It goes on, such attacks not only endanger the personal safety of lawyers and others working for the justice system, as has recently been vividly seen, they undermine the rule of law, which ministers and lawyers alike are duty bound to uphold. Sorry, I had to add that bit in there because it's so fucking funny. Are they having a laugh? Ministers upholding the law, they are changing it by decree. And lawyers, in my opinion, are only interested in upholding laws that they can use to get paid. It says we invite both the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister to behave honourably by apologising for their display of hostility and to refrain from such attacks in the future. Oh my god, if you consider that an act of hostility, then there is seriously something fucking wrong with you. Calling you a bunch of Labour lefty loving lawyers who are going against what the people want is kind of milquetoast if you ask me. You're lucky it's not me as a minister, I would be saying a hell of a lot fucking more. Finishes up, one of those to sign the letter, the former director of public prosecutions, Lord Ken MacDonald, said lawyers are being crudely and dangerously vilified. Well, stop fucking around, costing us a fortune and forcing the government to let people stay here who we don't want and have no actual right to be here. A number 10 spokesman said that while lawyers played an important role in upholding the law, they are, however, not immune from criticism, which obviously they're not, and we said earlier. So it seems despite this piss poor government practically fucking absolutely everything up, they can at least still troll the left, which is good news for us, and a bit of salt mining that I never mind doing. Of course they'll be back to fucking us over tomorrow, so don't get your hopes up for anything to change.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.